General Hospital spoilers. Sasha's father story flops. Cody cousin twist pointless now that Robert's gone General Hospital, GH. Spoilers reveal that Robert Scorpio, Tristan Rogers, recently decided he was tired of all the missed opportunities. Robert has lost more than enough time with Holly Sutton, Emma Sams, so he showed up and joined her flight to Lisbon. That gave Holly and Robert a happy exit together, at least for now. But what about poor Sasha Gilmore Corbin, Sophia Matson? Sasha is used to Holly abandoning her, but it's a shame that Robert's doing it too. Of course, Sasha acted like she was okay with it in the November 13 episode. In fact, Sasha suggested it was a good thing since it'd give her time to process the news about Robert being her biological father. However, that felt more like GH writers' attempt to smooth things over and make this twist less terrible. If Robert wasn't even going to stick around, why did they bother making Sasha his daughter? As the story stands right now, it feels like the writing team blew up Sasha's relationship with Cody Bell, Josh Kelly, for no reason. Cody and Sasha arguably shouldn't have been cousins if this was just going to be a revelation for shock value. There's no payoff where Sasha gets to bond with Robert as her dad, at least not anytime soon. Although GH plans on bringing Robert and Holly back in the new year, it still seems awful for Robert to ditch the daughter he just learned he had. In other words, Sasha is stuck with a father who's abandoning her, just like Holly has done so many times. On top of that, Sasha doesn't have her romance with Cody anymore, so it's just a shame that the show keeps piling on sad twists for this character. We get that the whole cousin thing pushed Sasha into bed with Michael Corinthos, Chad Dull, and potentially caused a pregnancy, but there were other ways to set that up. Sasha's kissing cousins and biological father story ultimately feels like a flop that didn't have enough thought put into it. General Hospital spoilers say Sasha will inevitably face more challenges in the coming weeks, so we'll bring you more potential pregnancy predictions and updates on any Michael baby drama. Sasha Gilmore sat in her modest Port Charles apartment, staring at the newspaper spread out on the table before her. The black and white headline screamed out like a siren. Robert Scorpio steps down as DA. It wasn't surprising, considering Robert's recent departure for a long overdue sabbatical. But for Sasha, it represented something far deeper, the unraveling of yet another thread in her chaotic life. Since being freed from Dr. Montague's clutches, Sasha had been trying to rebuild herself piece by piece. But for every victory, it seemed like another bomb dropped. Her latest revelation, the identity of her biological father, should have been monumental. Instead, it felt hollow. Why now? She whispered to herself, running a finger over the edge of the paper. Why after everything? Across town, Cody Bell was pacing in the Quartermain stables, hands shoved deep into his pockets. He was supposed to be brushing Comet, the horse who'd been his solace since moving to Port Charles. But today, his mind was elsewhere. Ever since the DNA test had come back, proving that Sasha was his cousin, he hadn't been able to shake the feeling that something was off. The problem wasn't Sasha herself. Cody had grown fond of her, especially after their ordeal with the shady rehabilitation facility. The problem was how everything else around them felt so disjointed. He kicked at a loose pile of hay. "What's the point?" he muttered. Max Scorpio, his newly discovered biological father, had encouraged him to explore his newfound family ties. But with Robert Scorpio gone, Cody couldn't help but feel like the family dynamic had taken a hit. Robert had been the glue holding so many connections together, both in the Scorpio clan and across Port Charles. Without him, the whole Sasha's father storyline seemed like an afterthought. In a nearby corner, Dante Falconeri leaned against the stable door, arms crossed. You're gonna wear a hole in the ground if you keep pacing like that. Cody scowled. You don't get it, man. Everything feels pointless now. I mean, first, we find out Sasha and I are cousins. Then Robert's gone. And don't even get me started on this so-called father twist. Dante raised an eyebrow. You're talking about Victor Gilmore, aren't you? Cody nodded. Victor Gilmore, Sasha's long-lost father, had emerged out of the blue. Supposedly, he was some mysterious philanthropist who'd spent years searching for his daughter. But his arrival had raised more questions than answers. What kind of father waits this long to show up? Cody continued, frustration evident in his voice. And why now, when Sasha's finally starting to heal? Dad shrugged. Maybe he's legit. Or maybe he's hiding something. Cody shot him a look. You're a cop, Dante. Don't tell me you haven't looked into this guy already. Dante smirked. You think I wouldn't? The guy's record is clean. Too clean, if you ask me. But there's nothing concrete to pin on him. Cody sighed. Great. Another shady figure in Sasha's life. Just what she needs. Back at General Hospital, Sasha sat in the cafeteria with Gladys Corbin, who was doing her best to act like a supportive mother figure. Despite their rocky history, Gladys had been trying to make amends, especially after Sasha's mental health crisis. So Gladys began, stirring sugar into her coffee. Are you going to meet him? Sasha frowned. You mean Victor. Gladys nodded. He is your father. Don't you think you owe it to yourself to at least hear him out? Sasha leaned back in her chair, arms crossed. I don't owe him anything, Gladys. He's been a ghost my entire life. And now, after everything I've been through, he decides to show up. Maybe he didn't know how to find you, Gladys suggested. Sasha shook her head. Or maybe he didn't want to. Either way, it's not like this is going to change anything. Sometimes, Gladys said softly, it's not about changing the past. It's about building a future. Sasha didn't respond, but her mind was racing. Could she really open herself up to yet another person? Especially someone who claimed to be her father. Meanwhile, Victor Gilmore was sitting in the Metro Court, nursing a scotch and watching the world go by. His arrival in Port Charles had been anything but subtle, but that was just his style. He was a man used to getting what he wanted, and right now, what he wanted was a relationship with Sasha. She's not going to make this easy, a voice said behind him. Victor turned to see Selena Wu sliding into the seat across from him. The mob boss had taken an interest in Victor ever since he'd arrived in town. I don't recall inviting you to join me, Victor said coolly. Selena smirked. Consider it a courtesy call. You're making waves, Victor. People are starting to talk. Victor raised an eyebrow. Let them talk. I'm here for one reason, and one reason only. My daughter. And yet, Selena said, leaning forward, you've managed to land yourself on the radar of some very powerful people. Including me. Victor's jaw tightened. I have no interest in your business, Ms. Wu. I suggest you stay out of mine. Selena chuckled. Oh, Victor, you have no idea what you've walked into, do you? As the days went on, Sasha found herself caught between conflicting emotions. Part of her wanted to slam the door in Victor's face and move on with her life. But another part, small but persistent, was curious. What if he really was telling the truth? What if he truly wanted to make amends? Her decision became even more complicated when Cody showed up at her apartment, a sheepish look on his face. Hey, he said, rubbing the back of his neck. Can we talk? Sasha gestured for him to sit. What's on your mind? Cody hesitated. I know things have been crazy lately. And I know we're still trying to figure out this whole cousin thing. But I just wanted to say that I'm here for you, whatever you decide about Victor." Sasha smiled faintly. "Thanks, Cody. That means a lot." They sat in silence for a moment before Cody added, "You know, if Robert were still here, he'd probably have a dozen theories about this guy already." Sasha laughed despite herself. Yeah, he would. Robert always had a way of cutting through the noise. "Too bad he's gone," Cody said quietly. Sasha nodded. Yeah, too bad. In the end, Sasha decided to meet Victor. But as she walked into the Metro Court Lounge, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was walking into a trap. Victor stood as she approached, his expression unreadable. "Sasha," he said warmly, "thank you for coming." She crossed her arms. "Don't thank me yet. I'm only here to hear what you have to say. Nothing more." Victor nodded. "Fair enough. But I think you'll find that we have more in common than you realize." As he spoke, Sasha couldn't help but wonder, was Victor truly the father she'd been searching for? Or was he just another player in the endless game of Port Charles intrigue? And so the mystery deepened. With Robert Scorpio gone and the Cody connection seemingly irrelevant, Sasha was left to navigate her newest challenge alone. But in Port Charles, nothing stayed buried for long.